Okay, today we're going to talk about congressional leadership and committees before we then get into the next set of notes, which is all about how a bill becomes a law. So let's start with our Constitution mandated leaders. In the House of Representatives, this is the Speaker of the House. Currently, that is Nancy Pelosi. The job of the Speaker of the House is they preside and keep order. So they preside over when the full House is all together, all 435 members are out. They are chairs. They are considered the chairman of the sessions of Congress. They put motions to vote and decides the outcome. So they request a motion to vote, a motion to end debate, a motion to adjourn, those sorts of things, and then will announce if there was a motion and a second, and if not. Them. So the speaker will be, will call on the representative from whatever state, and that will be that representative's option or opportunity to then speak on the floor of the House in regards to a motion that they are considering or a bill. Names members of select and conference committees. So we will talk about what a select and a conference committee is, but it's the speaker's job to select the members that will serve on those two types of committees. The Speaker will sign all bills and resolutions passed by the House, and then from there they either go to the Senate or they will go to the President, depending on where they are at in that process. Rules on points of order. So if who is speaking, sometimes representatives kind of start talking over each other and get a little contentious on the floor, and it is on the Speaker's job to rule on who should be speaking, and then follow the next person would be able to speak. And the Speaker refers bills to committees. So the Speaker is the one who decides what committees each bill will have to go to. Next, we have the Constitution mandated leaders in the Senate. So these are the positions in the Senate that the Constitution lists and require. The first one is the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate is officially the United States Vice President, in this case Kamala Harris. Their job is to preside over sessions, and that is all they do. Is they are the presiding officer when they are in the Senate chamber. The President of the Senate, being that they are Vice President, also that's the bigger kind of the jobs, cannot speak or debate on the Senate floor. The only kind of thing they get to do is preside, acknowledge people who speak, and then may vote only in a tiebreaker. So oftentimes the President of the Senate is not present in the Senate because they're not an elected member of the Senate, and they don't really have much to do other than break a tie. So when the President of the Senate is not there, it's supposed to be the President pro tempore, the President who is supposed to preside in the Vice President's absence, which is often. The Vice President is typically doing other things for the President. They have other duties and so forth and so on. In the reality, though, even on the President pro tempore, they don't even do the presiding officer jobs. They hand those over to junior members to do the presiding, the recognizing of members to speak and calling for a vote, etc. The next leaders we have are the floor leaders. The House and the Senate both have a majority leader and a minority leader. The majority leader, they are the most important party officers. So the majority leader means that they are from the party. They are the top officer from the party that controls the most seats in the House and the Senate. I will tell you that the Senate majority leader is the power person in the Senate. Whereas in the House, yes, the majority leader has power, but typically the majority leader is usually also going to be of the same party as the Speaker. So the Speaker tends to hold more power than the majority leader in the House, but in the Senate, it is the majority leader. Both the majority leaders and both sides control order of business on the floor. Of course, the majority leader in the House will be working with the Speaker of the House. Carries out decisions of the party's caucus. So what is the party wanting to see done in terms of favor of votes or not in favor of the vote? What is the goals of the party? A minority leader is going to be the top officer for the party that controls fewer seats in the House. They do not have majority. They are the most important officer, and once again, they are going to be working really hard to get their party's goals and policies passed. but being the minority, being the lesser seats, it is a uphill battle to get that done. Then you have the majority and minority whips. So both parties, regardless if they, have a whip, the whip's job is to act as a liaison, a go-between between the party leaders. So the majority leader, the president pro tem, or the speaker of the House, and its members. And their job is to kind of communicate with them, give them information. They also are going to make sure that party members are present for important votes. They will influence party members to vote with leaders. They will get a check on how various members are planning on voting on various bills, because if it's the majority whip will report back to the majority party or the majority leaders and report on who is in favor of a bill. If they don't have the votes to try to get it passed, then the majority leader will not bring that bill to a vote, if that makes sense. So their job is to kind of they whip the members up into a vote count so they know where everyone stands. And then the final leader that you need to know about for Congress is the chairman of each committee. So in the House and the Senate, they divide themselves up into committees to deal with topic-specific bills. So a chairman is going to be the head of a standing committee. That's a permanent committee. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. They will decide which bills the committee will consider, and they will decide in what order. So if there's a bill that the committee chairman does not like, is not in favor of, they will put it at the bottom of the list, and they will just keep stacking new bills on top. They will determine how long they will talk about each bill, the length of debate, the length of investigative information, inquiry information as well, and help determine what witnesses the committee will call for hearings on the pros and cons of the proposed bill. They will manage the debate and steer passage on the floor of the House if it gets to that point. Now let's talk about the 4 types of congressional committees. Standing committee. This is a permanent committee in Congress. Their main job is to decide the fates of the bills. They are the lawmaking committees. All right, so in the House, there are 435 total members, and they get divided into between 20 standing committees. In the Senate, with only 100 members, the Senate is only getting 16 committees because they don't have as many members. They don't need as many committees. These committees are going to be kind of broad-based, like education, budget, appropriations, armed services, defense. But inside that committee, they will break themselves up into subcommittees that were going to be more specific, very kind of start to look at certain types of bills versus very broad education bills. The House Rules Committee, the House has a committee called the House Rules Committee, and they are the gatekeepers to the floor, for the whole floor. So a bill can come out of a standing committee, and then the House committee, the Rules Committee, will have to put rules on it, like what is the length of debate, when is voting going to take place, when are they going to debate it, so forth and so on. The Senate doesn't have such a committee due to the fact that they are much smaller than the House of Representatives. And here, very quickly, is a list of all the standing and permanent select committees in both the House and the Senate. Now, a select committee is a somewhat temporary committee. There are a few select committees that are permanent, but most of them are just temporary. They are created to address specific issues that are not addressed by standing committees. They are set up for a special purpose, usually investigative. So back in the 80s, they had a select committee on Iran-Contra affair. So this was where it came out that the United States was selling weapons in exchange for hostages through Iran, and they investigated that. The executive branch was doing that, and this was an investigation into that. There was also investigations into 9/11. There's an investigation into the Benghazi, Libya embassy attack as well. The Speaker of the House or the President of the Senate will appoint all members to the committee, and they pick who will be on those committees, and they are generally not involved in lawmaking. Typically, their findings may result in laws, but those laws are being done through the standing committees, not the select committees. A joint committee is a committee that is formed out of members of both the House and the Senate. So this is a joint, meaning there are members from both houses. They're meeting together. They usually address broad issues that affect both chambers, like the Joint Committee on Taxes, or there's a Joint Committee on Economics. There's a Joint Committee on the Library of Congress. And then our last committee is our conference committee. It's a committee created between the two chambers to work together passing a bill. So the lawmaking process requires that a proposed bill, future law, get passed through the House and then also through the Senate. But oftentimes what happens is that when the bill comes out of both of those houses, they're not the same. Like the House could pass it and send it to the Senate, and the Senate will change it. So now they're not the same bill. So a conference committee is created to kind of iron out those differences so that the bill can continue on and move on to the president for a signature. This also is a temporary conference. So there are our 4 types of committees. The conference committee and your select committee are temporary, but your conference committee and your joint committee have members of both chambers on them. If you have any questions, let me know. And remember, don't do anything too stupid, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.